Before we dive into our topics, though, everybody in the chat, if you've not done so yet, do me a favor real quick. Just check and see if you are subscribed. And if the answer is no, you're not subscribed, do us a favor and hit that subscribe button. We want to push our subscribers up as high as we possibly can. So hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications. And after the show, if you have a chance, if you think of it, give us a 5-star rating and review over on Apple Podcasts. Great way to help us go and help us grow. Appreciate all of you for joining us. Today's sponsor is SeatGeek, and we'll talk more about them in just a bit. But guys, let's start with Austin Reaves. He's been absolutely phenomenal. I think he is, no question, an all-star. I've worried in the past that he wouldn't make it to the all-star team simply because of how much talent there is at his position, but he's been so phenomenal all season long. Jason, I'll start with you. I know you discussed this a bit on your show. Austin taking it to another level this year.
Yeah, so I tried really hard to think about which players in the league have been better than Austin this year. And it's the top-tier guys, Luka, Shea, Jokic, and Giannis. Your up-and-coming stars like Cade and Wemby. I'd say Anthony Edwards has been a touch better. Some of the established guys like Donovan Mitchell and Steph Curry. I saw the stat this morning. The Warriors still somehow have a 119 offensive rating with Steph on the floor this season. So there's still some guys that are producing at a level that you would say is ahead of where Austin's been. But after that, it's all reputation. Like, Austin's played better basketball this year than Jalen Brunson. Austin's played better basketball this year than a lot of guys that are further down that list. I have him as the 10th best player in the NBA coming into today. Now, again, reputation is reputation. No one's about to move Austin into the 10th best player kind of reputationally until he can sustain this for years, like the guys that he's been better than at this point into the season. I think one of the things with Austin that gets glossed over is he's a much better player than his metrics would lead you to believe. I shouldn't even say metrics, his counting stats would lead you to believe. I thought Darius Soriano on the LFR pod did an amazing job breaking this down the other day. The real difference between players like Austin who came up as a role player and had to learn how to be good players on the margins. I'm watching Philly Atlanta last night, and I'm watching Dyson Daniels just backcut Tyrese Maxey for offensive rebounds and dunks and stuff right around the basket. That's killing his team in crunch time, in important moments. And there are a lot of guys in the league that average over 25 points a game that give up a bunch of it in the other areas. And don't get me wrong, Austin has his athletic limitations, and every once in a while he'll get picked on one-on-one or have a situation where his body's not really up to the challenge, but mentally he's so sharp, so fundamentally sound, so good on all these details around what he provides, which is top-tier superstar level shot creation, that it's become I think it's become undeniable at this point. So my wife and I moved to Denver this summer, which means I'm finally back in an NBA city and I can go to NBA games again. So obviously I want to see the Lakers before the end of the season, especially before LeBron retires. So I've been looking at Lakers Nuggets in March coming up to see if I can get some tickets. And this is why I want to give the sponsor of today's video, SeatGeek, a huge shout out. With over 35 million downloads, SeatGeek is the #1 rated ticketing app. They have over 70,000 events listed on the app, obviously concerts and festivals, but sports as well, the NBA, the NFL. They even have World Cup tickets on sale right now. And my favorite thing about the app is just how easy it is to find the best deal because of their deal score. So like, these are the tickets to Lakers Nuggets in March. I can sort by deal, so I'm just looking at 10s on their deal score. These are all the best available deals in their respective sections, and look at how many options they have. So I can just pick the section in the arena I want to stay in or sit in, and I can find the best ticket in that section pretty easily. It makes that process so much easier, and they have your back. Every ticket is backed by their buyer guarantee. And of course, I have a code for you guys. You can use code LakersCollective10 for 10% off your next set of tickets at SeatGeek. That's 10% off any tickets with promo code LakersCollective10. Make sure you click on the link in the description to download the app and have the code automatically added to your account so you can use it later. Thank you to SeatGeek. This is a player that, regardless of whether it's with LeBron, with Luka, with neither of them, whatever the circumstances are, this dude has just flatly been one of the very best basketball players in the world this season. And it not only changes the dynamic for the future of the team as you look like at him as a partner with Luka, as like a perennial All-NBA type of candidate, it's also something within the scope of this season that makes this team that much more dangerous. as they have now become the number one half-court offense in the entire NBA. And like I was watching just this morning, just for poops and giggles, I went back and watched every made basket they had over the last couple of games, and like they're making it look easy. They are killing teams easy. Guard them 2-on-2. Austin and Luka torch you in pick and roll. Put 3 into that action or put 2 on the ball. They're torching you in these 4-on-3s now. This is really starting to look like one of those special offenses in recent NBA history.
It's been fantastic what we've been seeing out of the Lakers on the offensive end. Again, when they do blitz Luka, they're getting it's just automatic. It's becoming muscle memory when they're able to attack teams in those 4-on-3 situations. A lot of fun to watch them just pick teams apart by making them make choices over and over again and punishing them for those choices. We got a super chat coming in. By the way, most of the chat questions we'll put at the end, but this super chat was on topic. Why isn't Reaves in the most improved player conversation? That's weird. Jovan, should he be? And I also have a question coming in saying, why don't you guys talk about how bad Austin's defense is? And I know you've got some thoughts on that as well.
Yeah, you're teeing me up here to be the Austin defender, per usual. Well, if you listen to Buha's block and actually beyond the block specifically, I had Austin Reaves as my most improved player 2 weeks ago when we did way too early awards. So I am talking about Austin Reaves as the most improved player in the NBA. And, I think that there are several guys who have a claim for that. And, one of the archetypes I was looking at the time a couple of weeks ago, my top 3 was Reaves, Giddey, and Denny Avdia. And for each of the 3, I was arguing that it is really difficult to go from like a good to really good player to a great player and making that jump, especially for, Denny is a former lottery pick and so is Giddey. But like, I think those guys have led their respective teams in ways that we didn't necessarily envision them being like the number one on, at the time, a good team. Now, Chicago and Portland have come back down to earth. Both teams have, fell below 500 since I did that show. But that is even more of an argument for why Austin should probably be the most improved leader right now. And something I noted last night on my show, and I've been noting that the last few streams I've done, is like, I think this has gone from the best offensive backcourt or / best backcourt in the NBA to, is this just the best duo in the NBA right now between Luka and Austin? And it's funny because going into the season, I thought it was going to be Luka and LeBron, and that was before we knew the extent of LeBron's injury and how long he was going to be out for. But I mean, I'm not going to name any names, but there was a prominent podcast that did a top 5 duos in the NBA, and they did not have Luka and LeBron in that, which I thought was a bit absurd. But to me, like on paper, that was 2 top 10 guys going into the season. Now, in part because LeBron has missed the first 14 games, I'm not going to put Luka and LeBron in that conversation for now. But I think you could put Luka and Austin in that conversation for now. And with what they're doing, like right now, they are the highest scoring duo in NBA history for a season, which is just ridiculous, right? So now Austin has to sustain this, and I do think the numbers will come down a little bit as LeBron assumes higher usage, plays a little bit more, and gets more into the offense compared to I think he's been more of the third option. I think it'll probably end up being more of like a 2A, 2B situation. But Jason mentioned it. I went through the list, and especially with the context of 16 American players, 8 international players with the new All-Star format. The only guys I think you probably put ahead of Austin right now are Steph, Cade Cunningham, Anthony Edwards, Donovan Mitchell, Tyrese Maxey, and maybe I think Jalen Brunson gets in just as being like a top 10 guy the last couple of years. So that's 6 players. Then he's right there with Jaylen Brown, James Harden, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Julius Randle, Jalen Johnson, Amen Thompson, Evan Mobley, Jalen Duren, Scotty Barnes. And I think he's ahead of a lot of those guys. So I think he's arguably the 7th or 8th All-Star in for the American side. And I did not anticipate that going into this season.
Well, and that's where it helps that the Lakers are the 2 seed as well right now, because those teams that are higher up in the standings, they tend to get rewarded with having more all-star players. Certainly Luka will be in. LeBron's not going to have the games played, almost certainly, but we're going to see Austin Reaves, I think, get into the all-star conversation here. Where do you guys have, though, obviously we have 75% of the season still to play. We're talking about Austin Reaves as an all-star. Should we be talking about Austin Reaves all NBA? Jason, what do you think about that?
I think right now he's third team at a minimum, and he's got a case for second team. Again, like when you factor in, and again, there's going to be a lot of people that are going to point to things like, oh, he plays alongside Luka. Well, there's a situation where, as far as the way this team is constructed, they're winning games by being an elite defense. And to put it very simply, if Austin isn't as good as he is offensively to this point in the season, they're not sitting at 15-4 or whatever they are. They're somewhere, closer to that, middle tier of the NBA, which is super deep. There's like a dozen teams hovering around that like 12-8 type of mark. And the league it's very difficult to win night to night. And Austin has scrapped together wins even with Luka out of the lineup. Austin brings that well-rounded approach we talked about earlier, which is, I think, missing a lot when you get to the star guards in the league. Like Austin has been competing his ass off on the margins. And there's going to be matchups every once in a while where a team can pick on Austin for being a lesser athlete in one way or another. But I think in this particular season, he has not been an issue on the defensive end of the floor. That's been more of a team-wide issue in some other areas on the roster having to do with speed. And like one of the things with Austin in particular too is like there is a downhill to the basket element that has been really, really necessary for this team. He's actually finishing at the rim 4 times per game, which is an extremely high number. It's somewhere right around the mid-30s ranked in the NBA. It's like 35, 36. To give you some perspective, look at like a big power wing like Jaylen Brown, who's having an awesome season. He's making 4.5 shots per game at the rim. Austin's like right up in that territory. He's scoring at the rim more than Paolo Banchero was before he got hurt. Austin's getting there, and he's finishing at just a preposterous rate for a guard with his skill level. His floater is absolutely deadly. The only thing you could really nitpick him on was his three-point shot, and he's been shooting the damn seams off the basketball over the course of the last couple of weeks. So and especially off the catch, where he is obviously going to be super important as they get into some of their tougher matchups. Like, again, I don't know any way around it other than to say he's been one of the very best players in the world this season.